Hi, Doctor. So we are from Group 10. We are talking about the topic of identification of human remains using rapid DNA analysis. This is my group members. So we will talk about the intro about the what's DNA analysis. It's the name given to the interpretation of genetic sequencing and can be used for a wide variety of purposes. DNA genotyping is a regular lab test. Lab has become standard instrument for recognizable proof of qualities from setback occasion including the World Trade Center, for example, natural phenomenon, plane crash, terrorist attack, so what is rapid DNA analysis? Is a term used to describe the fully automated or hands-free process developing DNA profile from reference sample fecal also the cheek swab without human intervention. So what's the difference between DNA ID and genetic profiling? So DNA ID is a simply identified individual while genetic profile is designed to assess health of individual and contains essential every piece of genetic information in the human genome. DNA IDs is preserve privacy. They contain absolutely no useful information about the individual other than identification. So what's the advantage of DNA analysis? First of all, DNA evidence is a proper ubiquitous forensic advertisement since the advance of fingerprinting. It can be also can be proof causal innocence even when other trustful evidence plays in the document. If handled properly, DNA evidence can be stored for years and which is helpful because investigation and criminal court proceeding can last a long time. Also, police officers with unidentified samples can search for uh, match using DNA database. Also, DNA database beats eye, eyewitness evidence when it comes to reliability. So, what are the disadvantages of DNA analysis? First, DNA evidence is only found in small fraction of crime scans. Evidence such as confession, murderers, weapons, and other forensic evidence must be supplement DNA evidence, as injuries don't always base their evidence upon DNA evidence alone. Human warriors involving a lack of training, sloppy work, and cross contamination, among other issues, can interfere with the reliability of DNA evidence. Also, DNA samples can pose privacy concerns as they identify the family relationships, ancestors, and also potential for diseases. Also, the last disadvantage is that criminals can plant DNA evidence to frame an innocent person for the crime, also known as crime framing.
So I will be present about the methodology this article. So firstly is the about the sampling collection. In methodology in article actually have four that is sample collection, sample processing in rapid DNA process analysis, rapid and DNA analysis, and will be conventional lab technician. So it is from first starting that is the about the sample collection. This article is stated that it's forensic anthropology center FAC, the university intention to provide decreased human subject. It can be act as donor, protecting the research and using AND ED. So where is that is article is stated that it has 10 donor equal to 7 male and 3 female, and they open to video any set and accessory to present mass materiality scenario. For is the specific information, the donor he has that it stated that is 2 of 10 is for brain sample, 7 to 10 is this, especially in smaller. So 8 to 10 is liver sample, and all of the donor will be do the muscle sample, blood bone sample, blood cut for the totality STR genotyping. So the after that we all the donor will be replacement tutoring at the donor at at the Aphrology Research Facility, AFR. Iska, can you review one slide? Usually is FRR for one year. The period is 1 year. So whether they are collecting a tissue, it calculated that it form that it have in that table easily. They have muscle cell, brain cell, liver cell, muscle, tissue, structure, and bile. So next slide is show that um about the sample processing for the DNA analysis. This is area is especially if the sample have to store in negative 20 registration for first leaf and will be follow instruction followed by is on that all table. They have more specific how that is the cell is collecting before to store and to process this sample for rapid DNA analysis. So the next slide is about the rapid DNA processing. Actually, it's starting that this and it's talking about the ANDI rapid DNA identification system. This system or the instrument we have full automated instrument, a single use microfluid chip and fully integrated aspect system analysis software. We all know that this uh this instrument already is famous in USA actually for the forensic one. So this instrument you have two type of chip in the life that is eye chip for the unidentified human remain used as UHR sample and each chip is family information sample FRS virtual swap. So it's both of chip is performed to automated falsification PCR application for of 27 short tender reported SDR market for buy using the commercial scale, I think is Flick HA. So from this one is the second box it show that it include to 20 we are there is use the 20 collide is SBI coding system electrophoresis separation applied and collectively label fragment and laser based fluorescence detection. So from this way is major difference between two ship that is ice ship is perform concentration type following DNA purification to maximize the DNA application. So that is from this way. Uh, Machine will be have they have personal chemical reagent or reload into the chip and followed by their system easily. So that but interesting fact is that DNA IDs in they form is less than is 2 hours without human information or interpretation. So and the instrument is subject to mentally tender 810G to transport and use outside control laboratory environment. So that is will be really the result and the chip will be stable in the room temperature 6 hours. So that is that is true about the and the instrument, but how for the validation we are to refer to next slide is about conventional laboratory testing. This is to verify if a contrast between Andy Blackflea, a chemistry generated DNA ID, and just generation conventional laboratory method. So, method sometimes is shipping by shipping by two the border mark forensic at USS for testing. The sample will be presented in consideration testing include they are use all the sample lah in their research. So that and it also is with to really the result is by secreting the conventional then the ID containing all of 27 flat flake E. coli are locus sample is approximately used both for the Power Fleet version to Sydney and Power Fleet 2021 ada. So next slide is show about the result. So okay,
Okay,
yes,
for the result and the discussion, for the DNA IDs, the criteria will be following. First is full, which is all 27 male loci and 24 female loci will amplify. Next, for the partial, missing at least one locus called the STR-PICs. I'm sorry, missing at least one locus called STR-PICs. And for the background, no alleles calls. Next. Okay, for the buccal samples, a buccal sample is easy to collect during disaster, and through the table that been shown in the slide, full or near full DNA IDs is observed until the onset of maggot infection, and full DNA IDs on 5 sample at 3 days, and full DNA IDs on 4 out of 6 sample at 4 days. And the analysis of buccal swab is through the oral cavity, swab of the collected tissue lining and also tissue fragment. Next. For the muscle sample, in the graph shown, in the table shown, sorry, full DNA IDs were observed from a birth gram sample from 2 to 8 days, and 5 out of 6 sample test generating full or good partial DNA by day 6. And the number of call loci decreased with the increased exposure time. And some sample could not be collected due to the scavenging and tissue disintegration. Next. For the liver, several full range of aberrant signal for a given time point due to variability in the tissue decomposition, and most of the longer PMI sample will liquefy. And in 2 days, DNA ID is well balanced. However, at 4 days, DNA ID shows significant sloping in the table below. And for the brain, brain spatter swab and kyloid fragment were collected for 2 donors, and all sample produced DNA IDs at 3 days, and 1 out of 4 generate DNA IDs at 7 days. For the bone and tooth, 23 out of 27 bone sample generate DNA IDs from 1 day till 1 year, and full DNA IDs on phalanx and rib samples. All tooth sample generate full DNA IDs from 1 day till 1 year, and 3 microfluidic chip failure been observed, and 1 background null call allele been observed in the study. Next. For the conclusion,
Okay.
I will pass to Iska.
Okay, we are talking let's conclude. So DNA analysis continues to play a key role in linking suspects to biological evidence and identifying individual in crimes and disaster. Another important use for establishing paternity in custody and alimony cases. The DNA profile is used to diagnose hereditary disorder and human diseases. Also, the list of additional uses of DNA fingerprinting continues to grow. For example, DNA markers have proven to be powerful in the study of population genetics. Molecular markers are also used to detect sudden changes in population, effect of population fragmentation, and interaction of different populations. That's all. Thank you.